I would say the most common gap is to be able to execute change, to get adoption of whatever that change is. Maybe it's a workflow, maybe it's taking advantage of new technologies. Whatever that change is, firms struggle to get everybody going in the same direction and to get that adoption, because adoption only happens when the majority of people within that organization choose to change. And it is a choice, right? So changing minds and hearts can be really a complicated thing for so many reasons, but people don't like change overall.
Welcome to Between the Briefs, a podcast by Steno. We're here to bring you practical tips, expert insights, and real conversations about the pretrial process, court reporting, and the legal technology shaping the future of litigation. I'm your host, Adrian.
And I'm your host, Joe Stevens. Whether you're an attorney, paralegal, or just curious about how technology is changing the legal industry, we've got something for you. Each episode will break down complex topics, share behind-the-scenes intel, and talk to the people leading innovation in and out of the courtroom. So grab a coffee and let's get into what's happening between the briefs.
Welcome to Between the Briefs, your go-to podcast for legal innovation. I'm Joe Stevens.
And I'm Adrian. Today, we are thrilled to welcome Carolyn Humpherys, a seasoned change management consulting, learning strategist, and certified legal trainer. Carolyn has over 20 years of experience in learning development and instructional design, helping law firms adopt new technology. Carolyn, welcome to the show. We're excited to have you with us here today. How are you?
Oh, hi, Adrian. Hi, Joe. So good to be here with you.
Of course. Love having you on. So tell us more about what you do and what got you started in the field that you're currently in.
Yeah, certainly. So I help law firms adopt new technologies. And with that, there comes a lot of different strategies, from communications, learning strategies. I've been in the learning space for over 20 years, and I've been working with law firms for, 32 years already. So I grew up in legal, and so it's always been one of my passions, and I enjoy working in that industry. And I love just helping people grow and learn new things and make their work lives easier. So it's a great calling.
Carolyn, law firms are not known to be sort of innovation hubs very often. I'm a lawyer myself, so I'm comfortable saying that. Do you agree with that? Or and if that's true, how do you sort of inspire that innovation within an industry that doesn't tend to be known for its innovation?
Sure. Joe, I have had the great fortune of working with many of the top law firms, top law firms, the AmLaw 100. And so many of them now have an innovation group, an innovation team. It is amazing what law firms are doing. Are there still some that don't have that innovative thought? Absolutely. But when you're talking about the top law firms, boy, they are all over it. So I see some amazing, great innovation coming out of our big law, and even some of our boutique firms nowadays. And I love that they have these innovation teams where they're really thinking about the overall health of the firm and what it's going to take to really just ensure, right, that they continue that long legacy of services. So it's exciting for me. I love working with firms that have innovation groups. And I was lucky enough to work with one Canadian firm that not only do they have an innovation team, they went and they took their training department, and training is now under innovation, not IT, not HR, innovation. And I thought that was absolutely brilliant, because that's really what trainers want to be there for, to help make sense of these technologies and identifying new ways of working and help law firms achieve that success. Too many firms don't leverage their trainers for really what they could be doing. Yeah, so that's exciting.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And usually you can identify this as just like a major gap, right?
Mhm.
When it comes to training. I'm curious, what does this process look like for you? I guess it's a two-part question. One, the first part is, do you typically get clients through outbound or inbound? And then and when I say outbound, I mean, do you have to reach out to them to see if there's a problem that needs to be fixed? Or inbound, as in they're coming to you because they know you got the expertise and they know they have a problem. You just got to come in and
Oh,
fix it.
sure, sure. It's a little bit of both. I mean, the firms that we've had a longstanding relationship with, traveling coaches, this is our 30th anniversary. So we have a long history of working with law firms, and we work with nearly all of the AmLaw 100, 200 firms. So we have a long history. So when they have a problem or a project or something coming up, absolutely they're coming to us. And we're also proactively reaching out to firms as well, and just continuing to grow that client base. And some firms, we are their training team as well. So we have our Premier Learning Program where we can either come alongside an existing team and augment that team, or we can be the training team, the full-time training team, provide the training manager, training people to support their staff on a weekly basis. So it's kind of a mix, if you will, from that aspect.
It sounds like it. I'm curious,
Yeah.
what does it look like when you actually come in? What is the process look like for identifying gaps of training and then providing a remedy?
Yeah, we have a fantastic a team of consultants that are on board and some really talented trainers as well that when we go in, we just work with the different practice groups, work with the key individuals at the firm to identify where are the gaps, what's your business strategy, right? What is it that you're trying to achieve? So we can identify what's important to them and then make a plan to move forward with that. And so we have some great seasoned people that handle those tasks. Not just myself, but we've got several really talented people on board that assist with that.
Carolyn, can you sort of describe the role, the evolving role of like a chief innovation officer inside a law firm? I mean,
Oh,
what were they did they exist 20 years ago? What are they doing now? And then if you could kind of give
yeah.
some specifics about like what things you are seeing be done transformatively inside these firms that maybe just weren't being even considered
Yeah.
a decade ago.
I would say that definitely it has not been 20 years. I would say more in the past 10 years. And certainly in the last 5 years, we've seen that chief innovation officer role. And I don't even know if they're considered a chief innovation officer or, sometimes the titles can vary. They're generally led by a lawyer within the firm, and someone who's going to be a little bit closer to the work and the practice groups and can speak the language and to identify, where possibly what new industries do we want to go into, or maybe it's how do we want to use technology in an innovative way. They're working with the other lawyers within the firm and talking to other lawyers outside of the firm, right? They're bringing those ideas in. They're they're really doing the work to help identify how the firm can grow. And there are firms also that have created some amazing tools that they sell out in the market. So, I mean, law firms are doing some really amazing things. So, I mean, I think I could recommend a few people to you that would be amazing to have on your podcast that could really answer those questions for you.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And out of all the firms, I'm sure there is a pattern of sorts when it comes to something that they all need, right? There's probably some sort of pattern. What have you recognized being the main issue that a lot of firms have, or a gap that they all commonly have?
I would say the most common gap is to be able to execute change, to get adoption of whatever that change is. Maybe it's a workflow, maybe it's taking advantage of new technologies. Whatever that change is, firms struggle to get everybody going in the same direction and to get that adoption, because adoption only happens when the majority of people within that organization choose to change. And it is a choice, right? So changing minds and hearts can be really a complicated thing for so many reasons. But people don't like change overall. I think some of us are unicorns in that we love change. I find it exciting and exhilarating. I don't like to stand still. I always like to be growing in things. Not everybody's wired that way. Not everybody is a learner by nature. And so going in and just being able to present that information. What are the business reasons? Why are we doing it? What's in it for you, right? You as the individual. And then we need to make sure that they have the knowledge that they need to change, and then the support around them so that they're able to implement those new ways of working without any barriers. They may need some reinforcement along the way, because oftentimes, when change is hard and we're building new muscle memory, we slide back into our old habits. So all of those things as a change manager are things that we focus on to help with true adoption. And some of our technologies, whether it's Microsoft Teams, whether it's AI, these changes don't come easily. They don't come quickly because it is such a different new way of working that it's building new habits and breaking the old, right? It's especially around AI. Every time you switch tasks, you should pause and say, how can name your tool, right? How can Copilot help me? And most people are just switching tasks so quickly that they don't pause to ask that question. Or maybe they typed in their first prompt and, they didn't really like the answers. So they figured, this is garbage. I don't know what the big deal is, right? But they didn't realize that their prompt was lacking in some way. So they didn't realize that they were the problem. Right? Because when we do something and we're not knowledgeable at it, we're novices, we do something for the first time, guess what? Our results might suck, right? So we need to have enough knowledge, right, to do things in a correct way and to be successful in doing it. And so that's really our role, is making sure that people understand the journey. They know what's in it for them. They get the knowledge and the information that they need, and that they can practice and ask questions along the way. All of that's just part of the normal learning journey, no matter what you're learning, right? So yeah, we just try to be there for people to help them through that process and to make it as painless as we can along the way.
Well, I like how you brought up prompting.
Mhm.
When it comes to this, what have you seen be kind of like a trap attorneys may fall into when it comes to prompting AI, and how do
Mm.
you train them to use it successfully?
I think that the trap is they think that there's one magic prompt that's going to spit out a perfect answer. And it doesn't work that way. So you may need to type in a prompt, see the response. You may need to iterate your way through it. You may need to ask some follow-up questions. Some little tricks that I like to use is at the end of my prompt, ask AI, what questions do you have before you begin? That is like the magic. To me, it's absolute magic, because now it's going to tell me all the context that I left out, all the information that it needs to give me a good answer. So when you just tack that on to the end of your prompt, it will really help Copilot or ChatGPT, Claude, doesn't matter the tool, whatever it is, it's really going to help that tool then process and understand what it is that you're looking for. Most people leave out enough context for these tools to even help them. Yeah.
Carolyn, how do you measure success? I mean, how do you measure
Mm,
adoption success? How do you measure like
yeah.
reduction in time allocated on specific projects? I mean, what are those metrics?
So, there's a couple different ways that we can measure success. One is, does it take me less time? Absolutely. That's a great one. But it's not everything. Sometimes it could be, is the quality better? Did it make the task feel a little lighter to get done? And it's talking about the overall employee experience. Was the task less daunting? Did it help me learn something new? Am I growing my knowledge based on what I'm doing? So going back to the prompt of what questions do you have before you begin, that could really open up and say, oh, wow, I didn't even think about that aspect of the question. That's a great question. I have used it so many times to learn how to do new things, new tasks that I've never done before. And I've learned along the way. And so there's so much to that answer about how one would measure success with these tools, because it's not all about time and efficiency. That's huge. I love time and efficiency, but is it a better quality? Do I have better output? Am I growing along the way? All of those, I think, are things that one should ask themselves in measuring success. I like the fact that it's just fun to use. I don't Google anything. I always Copilot first. Yeah. Google just gives you a list of links, right? It doesn't really give you answers. Copilot gives me answers with links. And I have found that generally the resources that Copilot includes have been wonderful, authoritative voices that you would trust kind of links. And then I'm even able to take a deeper dive on those topics. I love Copilot's smart suggestions to go a little bit deeper, because, a lot of times I get asked, why Copilot? What Copilot does differently than ChatGPT, Claude, those kind of tools, is that it has access to your data, your inbox, your calendar, your OneDrive, that knows who you're talking with, what you're talking about. So it can provide a much deeper level answer that's more specific to you. So for that reason, I am a Copilot fangirl. Do I sometimes like ChatGPT's response a little bit better? Yeah, but I only have a private license to ChatGPT, not an enterprise grade license. So it's not secure, 100% secure for me to use. And in a law firm context, security, confidentiality, that's key. And by the way, for any law firms listening, be sure that you sign that additional abuse contract with Microsoft that takes it even a step further. And it says, even if there is like an abuse issue, meaning we recognize words in your prompt that may get flagged, Microsoft will not look at your prompt or the data associated with it. So that's an important extra contract to sign if you're a law firm, to ensure that attorney-client privilege. So I just want to put that out there as well, because many people don't know about that extra thing that should be signed if you're a law firm.
That is a fascinating point.
Yeah.
When it comes to confidentiality and making sure the data is secure,
Mhm.
is there anything you advise attorneys do when using an AI or bringing it on? Because I think skepticism when it comes to AI is one of the biggest things that
Yeah.
is facing the barrier of entry, right, into law firms.
Sure.
So, what type of advice do you give attorneys when it comes to maybe hallucinations,
Mm.
data retention? What are these like red flags that you want to relax the mind of attorneys with?
Yeah, Copilot is a generalist tool. It is a Swiss Army knife, right? That can do a lot of things, but it's not a legal research tool. It's not meant for you to research case law. It's not meant for to analyze contracts. While Microsoft may promote some of that, yes, it can do some of those things, but there are other specialized tools that are on the market that are going to do a much better job of it, that have been highly trained to do those tasks. But Copilot, ChatGPT, Claude, they don't have access to LexisNexis, to truly that database of cases, of regulations, of those types of things. So we want to be using the right tool for the job. Um, Hallucinations, AI tools have sycophant tendencies. They want to agree with you, So if you even imply in your prompt an opinion about something, oh, those tools are going to run with it and they're going to agree with you, right? And will may not give you a truthful answer. So in your prompt itself, you don't want to be leading the AI tool to have a particular opinion. And you may even want to do things like, give me the pros and cons, give me two different viewpoints, give me like, don't don't lead it down a particular path, because it will absolutely agree with you in the end. And it will produce a pretty um, convincing argument that it's 100% accurate when in fact it's not. You do have to validate your information, double check those sources, which is why I like Copilot, because it gives me the source information. That makes it easier for me to validate, right? But yeah, you just can't trust it 100% across the board. This is not a copy, paste, send it out. No AI tool should ever be used that way, where you just copy, paste, send. Um, there have been over 350 instances of people citing fake cases. Now, like half of those are pro se litigants, people who are representing themselves. Okay. The other half are lawyers. And now we even have, I think, 4 judges on that list as well, that they have cited fake case laws in their opinions. Right. So it's getting real. It's getting scary, so everyone really needs to be held accountable. Um, and I heard it was a webinar that I attended that Bloomberg put on probably about a year ago. And one of these speakers, the panelist, an attorney, she said, if it's wrong to do it yourself, it's wrong to do it using AI. And I wish I could remember her name, because I use that quote all the time. So shout out if you're listening. Great quote, right? We would never put case law into a brief that we haven't shepherdized, that we haven't looked up and validated word for word, that we got that quote right, that we know for sure that it's accurate. And even tools that are out there that are specialist tools, they can hallucinate also. So again, validate is like the number one thing you need to do when you're working with AI.
A follow-up question. You mentioned the training, right? So you're training,
Mhm.
I think training usually happens top down, from what I've seen. It's like you got to train the C-suite and then the managers, and then it'll slowly start creating like systems for everyone that gets onboarded, so on and so forth. Um, so when it comes to bringing someone new, let's say it's a new associate,
You-
new, even maybe a new attorney that's bringing into his firm, what type of learning management system or software do you use? Like, how do you ensure everything you've trained one attorney gets passed on effectively within the firm itself?
Oh, well, that's a huge task. So, um, we're going to take a couple steps back on your question. Top down is critical, but when we think about top down, we at least need the support of those top leaders. And what active support looks like, and I'll use rolling out a document management system as an example, because I think any lawyer listening to this will blush potentially when I say this. When you have practice group leaders that are not using the firm's systems, such as a document management system, or maybe they don't support the use of AI, it makes it really difficult for everyone down below them working with them. If they're not using the tool, why should I use the tool? So it's something where leading by example is absolutely critical. We need to see our leaders using the technology, following the rules, following that knowledge management, all of those rules, because if they're not doing it, guess what? Their lawyers that report to them aren't going to do it either. People go where the work is. So if they're not using systems, firm systems as designed, that is a leadership issue. Okay. So, yes, we need our leaders to be examples overall. And that could even include in a practice group meeting saying, hey, I need everybody to get on board with this, and promoting that. Absolutely, extremely helpful from a change management standpoint of getting everybody moving in the right direction. We can't achieve business goals if we don't have people in alignment with what those goals are. And knowledge management, huge. Security, huge, right? And so it's when we're using our systems that we are working in a secure way. Now, learning itself, there are learning management systems, traveling coaches. We have our Legal Mind learning management system. And this is a great place where you can put and house your learning. But again, you need to give people a reason to go there. So what are the firm initiatives? Maybe it is security awareness, that each month people need to go through security awareness training, or maybe it is respectful workplace training. And at the end of the year, the firm goes through an audit about whether or not their firm is doing security training, because that is absolutely something that's going to show up right on a security audit. If leadership isn't on board with that, if leadership isn't carrying the stick to do it, it makes it really tough for it to get done, because trainers don't have the stick. We don't have a carrot and we don't have a stick, right? So we need leadership to really help us out with that and be the one to say, hey, great job to John and Susan and whomever. Thank you so much for getting that training done early. And by the way, the rest of you, I need you to get that done. We need them to be our champions for learning, because we can't make lawyers do anything, right? I mean, you can't make a lawyer do anything that they don't want to do. So we need to make sure that we have those carrots available, but it's really only your leaders, your practice group leaders, that are going to have the carrots and the sticks that anybody cares about.
Carolyn, within a law firm, there's always going to be people who are sort of slow adopters, and then there's going to be your evangelizers too, or whatever ends of the spectrum. How do you handle a skeptic when it comes to tech? What are the things that you do to sort of get them on board, or suggest that there's a great value in getting on board?
Well, I think first you got to listen to them. Just pause and listen. And does their argument, does their reasoning have what is that truth that they're saying, that value? What's the barrier? Because when you look at why someone might, when you look at people's needs, okay, there's a lot of different types of needs. There are stated needs, things that people say that they want. There are unstated needs, things that they need, but they never mention. There may be hidden needs as well, things that they need, but they don't want to tell you. And so the question is, what is that hidden need and why are they not willing to come forward? Is there shame involved? Is there embarrassment involved? Like, oh my gosh, if I come forward and I say that I need this, it means I don't know every single thing, right? It means that there's a potential weakness. So when we're looking at people's needs, are we truly listening to find a solution? And then sometimes it's a question of how do we open up their hearts and minds to listen to us for that solution? And it's a communication barrier. Because I think most people, if they understand the reason why it's important, I feel like most people get in line for the most part. As long as they see, oh, okay, I get it now. I get why it's important to the firm. I get why it matters to me. I get why it's better for my client. I get why it's better for my team. So I feel like if we present a good case, that most people will get on board. I think most of the time we don't present a good enough case, and that's a communication issue. So yeah, that's really, I think, what I would focus on is tapping into what matters to them. But to do that, you have to listen to them first.
Carolyn, hearing you speak about this reminds me of my time as an implementation specialist. And it is a doozy. You gotta do a lot of work. And one of those key things is understanding who is going to be your champion for successful integration.
Yeah.
And how do you go about identifying your champion? What are some key tells that this person is very much going to help with this implementation process and get more executive buy-in?
Certainly enthusiasm around it. I mean, if you're rolling out an AI tool and you pick someone who's bah humbug on AI, obviously that's not going to go well, right? So do they have, just what are their thoughts? What are their ideas? Are they innovative? Are they excited? Do they naturally have the ears of people within the organization? Kind of like if Joe's doing it, everybody wants to do it, right? So sometimes you just have people that have these qualities. We call it the woo factor. Sometimes you just have that woo factor, and that is amazing to have on board. Those people really can make a difference. And they don't necessarily have to be at the very top of the food chain, right? It can be some people that are maybe even, a couple ranks down. But if they have the woo factor and they've got that innovation and they've got the ideas in the ear of people, they're amazing champions.
Carolyn, what about, success stories are real. What about, I'm curious where things break down. Like, where have you tried but fallen short? When does that happen?
Sometimes we make recommendations to firms on things that they can do, but the firm will say, oh, that's not our culture. Oh, but we're not, it's like, no, really having a channel in Teams where people can go and share their prompts and their questions, like having a community around AI is extremely beneficial. And there are a lot of firms and groups that have shown success around that. But it's like, oh, but no one's really using Teams yet. Oh, but we're not ready to do that. So we can give advice on what to do. People don't always take it. And it may be that it's so new that they're not open to trying new things. We come across that at times. So I think that's just one of our biggest struggles. Another one sometimes is firms are in such a rush to get something rolled out and out the door. We need this now. Let's implement it. And we need to be done by Thanksgiving. It doesn't really give us a lot of time to plan, to send out communications. I've been in situations where people are getting notified of training barely 1 week in advance. Well, you're not going to get on people's calendar at that point, so you need to make sure that you have that schedule lined up and that it's realistic. I mean, attorneys, their calendars, they're booked, they're busy people. So they're easily booked 2, 3 weeks in advance. So we need to be respectful of their calendar, and we need to give them multiple ways to participate. Again, lawyers are busy people. They may be in deposition and trial, whatever. So what are all the different ways that we can provide them with training, whether it is virtual classes, in-person classes, training videos, bite-sized micro learning, just all the different ways, right, that we can roll out that training, quick reference cards, anything like that, making it short, bite-sized that they can fit in little pockets of their day, 101 ways that you can mix and match, right? Because again, each person has individual challenges and when it comes to their schedule and things that are on their plate. So planning for that, and that's part of the learning strategy, that when we come in on a project, we like to do a communication strategy, a learning strategy as part of that overall adoption, and think through all of those different scenarios. And each firm is slightly different in their culture. So we do need to fit in with that culture. But I think being open to new ideas and trying new things is a big one.
It's a great point. And all of these things that you mentioned, right? It tells me that the person that has to come in as the consultant needs to see and understand the scope of an organization and where new forms of innovation may fit in, right? So this takes a very particular person. How do you know in traveling coaches someone will be a successful consultant? Because it takes a certain type of personality. What are those traits to
Yeah.
you that they'll be a successful consultant?
Oh, so now you're asking us to give up our secret sauce. Um, so we actually, this is going to sound really, maybe perhaps a little bit different, but there is a kind of like a personality quiz that people go through that is mapped to, it's called a culture index survey, and it's mapped to different job roles. And if you're not a certain percentage map for that role, you don't get interviewed for the role. And we've been doing this, gosh, for well over 5, 6 years now. And we've just had really great success with it. So that's one of the things that we do. In addition to just, the regular old interview process, but yeah, we have some tools in place that help us with identifying the right person. And it's truly done an amazing job across the board, all roles in our organization. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Very amazing.
Carolyn, do you have any words of advice or caution or like recommendation for firms that are tech hesitant now? I mean, it seems crazy to me that with what's going on with AI, that there would be, I understand the caution around making sure it's a secure product and et cetera, and having the training and whatnot. But I feel like once those boxes are checked, it's almost ridiculous not to be using this technology in some way, shape, or form. Do you agree with that? Or what do you say to more tech cautious firms out there who are sort of, used to doing things a certain way?
Yeah. Joe, more and more firms that have been like AI adverse, if you will, more and more, right, that partner walks in the door and says, we need AI now, we're behind. Like those are some of the stories that we're starting to hear from CIOs that wanted to be looking at these tools and the powers that be, the purse strings have been saying, no, we're not going to do this, but all of a sudden those individuals, like the light bulb goes on and they realize AI is not going away, period. AI is not going away. But with those AI tools, there comes a lot of money that's involved. These tools are not cheap. So it's a matter of looking at what your needs are and then finding the right tools. What are the right products that are out there? Maybe doing a proof of concept with a few of them, have, some different groups evaluating, have your lawyers help you with evaluating these tools. One firm that I've was working with, that I've had a long-standing relationship with, it was just the IT team that was looking at Copilot. And the IT team says, oh, we don't really see a use case for this. IT was making that decision, not the lawyers. And I really would put it in the hands of the people that would be using it and let them determine what that value is. Because IT doesn't necessarily know all those moments in your day when you're staring at a blank screen waiting for inspiration. They don't know what parts of your job suck that AI can help you with. And that's, it's removing the drudgery of work. That is what these tools are for. So where are those moments? So in an IT, even in the training department, we're not close enough to the work to understand when those moments hit. And whether or not you're a good writer, or if you struggle a little bit in your writing and phrasing things. Now, keep in mind, pretty much everyone at an AmLaw 100 firm is going to be, top 10% of their class from Harvard and Yale and Berkeley. And, they're really smart people. But that doesn't mean that every now and then they don't need a little help phrasing something. So, I just think we need to put the tools in the hands of the people to help and let them help make the decision about what's helpful, what's not helpful, the overall quality of the output, the user interface, everything like that. I think you're better off doing those proof of concepts and making decisions overall.
Now, Carolyn, we always ask this at the end of our conversation, and that
Yeah.
is, what is your hottest take on the industry right now?
My hottest take on the industry right now is when you finally have that partner that walks in the door and says, we need AI now. Don't let that be a knee-jerk reaction. Okay. Still take the time to make thoughtful decisions. But I really think my hottest take is these tools need to be useful to the people who are using them and leverage those individuals in helping you make those decisions. This is not technology that just IT should be making decisions in a bubble. And everybody within a firm needs access to an AI tool. Your legal secretaries, your paralegals, your accounting departments, your marketing people, HR, everybody needs these tools. And I see that more and more, that firms are quickly realizing it. And so it's always exciting when they're giving Copilot to everyone within the organization, or maybe it's their own homegrown ChatGPT tool. That's awesome too. But it's great to see that they're really giving everyone these tools to help everyone be more productive overall. And I find that exciting.
Carolyn, that's amazing. I totally resonate with that hot take, actually. I think and we haven't heard that one before, have we, Adrian?
No, not that. And it seems like such an obvious one, but it has not been said. And I love it. It's a good one.
Well, with that, that's going to be a wrap on today's episode of Between the Briefs. So a big thank you to Carolyn Humpherys for sharing her insights here today on everything from learning strategy to innovative training in the legal sector.
Wonderful. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Adrian.
Of course. Happy to have you on, Carolyn. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode, where we will continue exploring how innovation shapes the legal landscape. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Up next on Between the Briefs.
I think my story is probably similar to a lot of people. I went to law school never intending to practice law. I remember my roommate in law school went to law school because he didn't know what else to do. And Along the way, I had a job waiting for me in corporate life. And along the way, we had that moot court competition that everybody had to participate in law school. And I ended up a finalist. I got to argue in the nationals next year. Next thing I know, I must be a litigator. And had a wonderful opportunity coming out of law school to work in big law, in litigation, where I learned a ton. But one of the most important things I learned was that just wasn't personally fulfilling for me. And I really wanted to represent people. I really kind of craved the David versus Goliath opportunities that this type of work provides.
Stay tuned for the full interview coming to you soon.
Between the Briefs is brought to you by Steno. To find out more about Steno and how we combine exceptional court reporting and litigation support services to deliver a superior litigation experience, visit steno.com. That's STENO.com. And then make sure to search for Between the Briefs in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. And click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Steno, thanks for listening.